Welcome! It's time for the Glitter Boom Girl Show. I'm Robbie-Ann McPherson, and 3,000 miles away from me on the West Coast is Amy Asbury. Amy, what's up?
How are you?
Is that passe now? What's up? That's old, right?
No, you know what? I'll say whatever I want, and you should say whatever you want.
Right? Yeah. I'm down with that. Is that old too?
Okay.
You know what? I'm just gonna I call them antique words, right? Like words like terrific. No one says terrific anymore.
I love that word terrific.
Right?
I love the word fantastic, and I love the word marvelous.
Yeah, marvelous. You know what? That's darling. Isn't that marvelous?
Darling is a beautiful word.
That is terrific. That is terrific. Yeah, I love it too. So today we are continuing, because you cannot do it in one episode. We are continuing our conversation about disco. We talked already about disco music, and we covered, of course, the Bee Gees in our last episode, which you can find on our podcast page. And today we're going to get into like the culture, the pop culture. Amy, why don't you like kick it off? You know, like give me your, like, when someone says disco, boom, what pops into your head?
I'm gonna say it's the first thing I think of is dancing, but other than that, I think of really bright color. I think of the sets from the background of, the Brady Bunch variety show where it's orange and yellow and gold. I think of this certain look. Even my Barbies had the same look. I picture DJs. Suddenly there was all these remixes, and I just picture this certain little funk that kind of spread into every background music of every doctor's office, every elevator, every TV show. It was color, and it was just that little twanky. What's that? What instrument is that? I don't even know. Keyboard? Yeah, everything kind of just became like funky. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but
they call it
really changed the world. It changed the world, and everybody felt that they had to put out a disco album to be current.
They call that the wah-wah pedal.
The wah-wah pedal. And, in the background of some of my TV shows, suddenly any character who was of age was kind of going out to the disco just to show, like, hey, we know what's going on in the world. So, it's just, and I think of 8 is enough, believe it or not, because I think of all of their hair. Every female cast member on 8 is enough, their hair was ready to go to the disco, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
One side was up and one side was down, and,
Yeah, so. Mary was older. She had sort of the short, she was a little bit
I'm going to say Elizabeth's hair was ready to go.
Elizabeth was ready to go.
Nancy was ready to go for sure. She always had like the ruffled.
Nancy was ready to go. Oh yeah. Nancy had she would wear the halter tops, and she had the feather.
She was pretty. And then was it Susan with the red flipped hair?
Susan. Well, and Susan always had those weird pigtails and barrettes and stuff.
I could picture her though putting on some satin, really tight pants and a sequin outfit and kind of like glossing up.
Yes.
Mary was too responsible to go out to a disco, but the rest of them,
and Mary was
Abby
serious.
Would even go.
She was like political and serious.
Right.
I don't know that Mary, was into that.
And then was Joni the one with the little like Dorothy Hamill kind of, not Dorothy Hamill, but the.
Yeah, Joni was serious too. Joni was like, Joni might have found herself at a disco, like if she was out with a group of girls for some reason, but you get the feeling she would have been the one sitting at the table watching the purses.
She would have watched the purses, and she would have called Abby to come pick them up when they were too drunk.
Right, exactly. But Abby, I think Abby would have shaken her booty. I think Abby was down.
So I feel like that cast definitely kind of, I mean, I don't think of disco and I think of 8 is enough, but I just, that hair, and I just feel like certain shows definitely had the look of, and you know what's also funny? A lot of TV shows, maybe Chips, for instance, kind of at the end of the show when they were going out, or even Bionic Woman, they kind of went out at the end and the credits started to go. They'd be at a disco or the bowling alley or.
Yeah, like they would be. That's where they had like the chuckle about whatever it was at the end, and they'd like clink the glasses about.
And then it would freeze frame on
Yeah,
them like laughing.
yeah, exactly. And it was always the same bar. Like they only went to the one bar, like Charlie's, or
So was Three's Company? Because I feel like they should have been doing the most disco dancing.
no.
Was that 70s or 80s? That was
Well, that
70s,
that
right?
that went into the 80s, if I
Okay.
recall.
But it started
Um,
out, weren't they
yeah,
disco dancing a bit?
I don't remember. Now, listen, I think I've probably seen every Three's Company episode, but I don't think they ever were at a
Interesting.
disco.
What about
I
Charlie's Angels, though? What about Charlie's Angels?
Oh yeah, Charlie's Angels had. Well, I remember there was like a roller boogie, or
Oh,
I mean a
yeah.
roller derby episode, and I'm sure there was a
I could see
disco
that now.
thing. I mean, can you imagine? You have three women. No matter which cast you're talking about, you have three women that gorgeous. You're gonna put them in a disco outfit at some point. So, and
And I feel
three's.
like they were already wearing tube tops the majority of the time. They're actually, I guess, apparently in season 3, episode 16, there was an episode called Disco Angels.
Well,
It,
there you
it
go.
aired January 31st, 1979.
Perfect.
So get this. Are you ready for this?
I don't
A
think so.
disco owner concocts an alibi after a man he argued with becomes the latest victim in a string of murders.
What?
So yeah. So
And
yeah,
so
that's
wait, let
awesome.
me guess. They go undercover
Right.
in the disco, right?
I think so.
Now,
I
and
don't
wait,
know.
what season did you say that was?
So that was season 3, episode 16. I
Season
think you
3. So
guys need
wait,
to
now
go.
let me guess. I want to
All right.
guess.
Yeah.
Season 3 would have been
Yeah.
Kate Jackson, Jacqueline Smith, and Cheryl Ladd?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or
I
would it
can't
have
tell
been
on
Shelley
here.
Hack?
I think you're right. All I see here. Oh, so who was Chris? Who played Chris? Cheryl Ladd?
Chris was. Wait, yeah, Chris was Cheryl Ladd.
KRIS?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was Cheryl Ladd. So listen to this. When the angels are summoned to investigate a strangulation, it leads them to the popular Freddy's Disco, where they go
Yes.
undercover. So anyway,
Freddy's.
yeah, Freddy's
Freddy's, the
Disco.
the hot spot.
That was the hotspot, Freddy's Disco. So,
Freddy's
I
Disco.
need to see. So Kelly was in it. So we know Jacqueline Smith was in it.
Mm-hmm. And
And
Kate was in all of them. So,
Kate was in all of them.
yeah.
You can't get another Kate.
Do you know I met Kate Jackson once?
Oh,
Yes, that is the appropriate reaction. I went to a broadcasting school in 2007 to kind of refresh my broadcasting skills because I know everyone's going to be shocked, but I actually have a degree in this stuff. And
no shock here.
I'm sure our listeners are like, "What?" But anyway, so she
Oh, I'm sorry,
was
that was
gonna
Cheryl Ladd.
do a something like
Hmm.
I think she was gonna work on something with someone or do a radio show like a Sirius XM thing or something like that. So she came in to the school, and I happened to be manning the front desk for a minute, and
Wow.
I was like, I'm just standing there at the front desk, and this was not a place where famous people came in, you know. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm like dum de dum, and it was like, and in 2007, this woman looked exactly like she did on TV. Like she was totally beautiful, you know. It was like I heard the music, da na na da na na,
Uh-huh.
and she just walks in and she's like, "Hi, may I speak to someone about classes?" And I'm like, uh, uh, and I'm like, "You're Kate
Whoa.
Jackson, aren't you?" She's like, "Yes, I am." I'm like, "Oh my God!" Like I was all
I
starstruck.
love that.
Oh, she was
I
so
love
sweet.
that.
Yeah, so I ran and I got and everyone was all like fumbling over themselves, like, "Oh my God, oh my God." So she went and talked to the school director and stuff. But yeah, I mean, just stupefied, stupefied. But you know what? We're digressing. So
I love it. I love it.
yeah, I know. I mean, I've rubbed elbows. You know, living in LA for 13 years as I did. I've rubbed elbows with a lot of famous people, as you have, right?
Oh,
Because
please.
you know, I mean, you still live in the LA area. But the people that you get the most thrill out of crossing paths with are, you know, like your childhood TV
Oh,
eras, or like when I saw Sean Cassidy in Whole Foods.
oh my
I mean, I was in
gosh.
my 30s and I almost, I mean, I couldn't even speak. I just, he was like checking out, you know, boop, you
I
know, with the
love
food, boop,
that.
at the register. And I was like,
Oh,
you
that
know,
is so lovely. I love that. It's
right.
so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. What celebrity has ever made you like trip out? Because you know, I know we've waited on them, and if people want to figure out how we met, check out our pilot episode. We used to be waiters at a quote unquote famous deli, but
Ugh.
what famous person have you ever like seen or crossed paths with that tripped you out?
At that particular deli, keeping with the theme, I did see Maureen McCormick.
Get
And I
out!
did see, yeah, Marsha came in. Greg also came in.
Yeah, I waited on Greg once too.
Yeah,
Nice man. Was
very nice
Marsha
man.
nice?
She was just a nice woman, of course.
Yeah.
And Rick James was always in there.
Yeah, you know, he's buried here in Buffalo.
Is that
Yeah, he's from
right?
here. Yeah, in fact, I went for a walk the other day right by his gravestone. He has a
Oh,
fantastic gravestone. Yeah,
well, I'm glad to hear that he's been properly represented.
right?
Yeah, a lot of 70s icons, and this goes into the 80s, but the one-armed drummer from Def Leppard, that was one of my favorites. And some Fleetwood Mac members. I was very excited.
Yeah, oh, that's trippy. Cause yeah, you know, the rock icons, you know, cause they're a little mysterious. Like rock stars are, I don't know. That's crazy. But
Yeah,
anyway, okay, back
yeah,
to the disco. Like
yeah,
I mean, that's important stuff, but like disco is you know, that's gravitas. Like this is
yeah,
important discussion here.
yeah. Very important.
So Chips also had a disco related episode because one of the things that spawned off of disco music was roller disco. And Chips had this disco episode which featured Melissa Sue Anderson from Little House on the Prairie. And
Wow.
there were a lot of those kind of like cultural what is it?
Hmm.
It's like bloodletting or something, you know, where someone would be, you know, you picture these guys with cigars in the TV boardrooms going, we got to have a disco show, you know, that
Totally,
disco thing is hot. We got to do a disco thing, you know. So
totally.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Melissa Sue Anderson and Melissa Gilbert were, of course, both on the Love Boat. Speaking of such things.
Oh yeah, who wasn't on the Love
Well,
Boat,
yeah, yeah,
right? I loved the Love Boat. Is it,
of course.
I gotta see. In fact, that you know that's a good like binge show. I gotta see what's up with the Love Boat on the binge show. Um, that every Saturday night, you know, I would take my shower and stuff when I was a little kid, get my jammies and watch the Love
Oh.
Boat. Those are really good memories. Total.
Albert, I remember Albert was on it also as Chip Bronson. And he like fell and had some kind of something happen to him. But yeah, such a good idea. That is definitely, if you want to see, you know what? I feel like there was a couple of agents that were like, hey, all of your clients can be on our show. There was some kind of deal going on, probably.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a package. Like if you did this and this, you
Hmm.
also did a Love Boat episode. That also, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah. Like I think Love Boat was like the Law and Order of you know the 70s and early 80s because a lot of people cycled through Law and Order, you know, because it had 8 million episodes and 8 million
You're right.
spinoffs.
You're
But
right.
I loved the Love Boat. That was a that was a it was well, what's the word I'm looking for? A friendly, sweet show, you know? And I wonder if they had a disco episode.
Oh, come on. They did have like a disco party. I feel like the Love Boat theme was actually mixed as a disco song. I feel like I've heard it on the dance floor
Well,
before.
the pilot episode used Love's theme from Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra, that instrumental. And then the subsequent like seasons used the love exciting and new. They use that kind of variation of the theme. But yeah,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
think that qualifies as a disco tune, that instrumental. Talk
You
about
know, and
wah
then
wah
you
pedal. Wah, wah,
right, and
wah,
then you
wah,
throw
wah,
in
wah.
Kristen McNichol and Scott Baio and some Sandy Duncan
Oh God,
and
yeah.
Charlene Tilton and.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a good question. Like when someone says disco to me,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that I think of is is the music. Like, but I'm a music kind of focused person, so I think of the music. But if someone says 70s to me, the
Yeah,
first thing I think of is disco. So, like, like some other people, if you say 70s, they might think of classic rock, right? Or, or they
true.
they think of some, I don't know, um,
Cat
what
Stevens or Van Morrison or some folk
yeah,
thing.
yeah, like, exactly, like the tail end of all that stuff, or the political unrest and coming out of the 60s, all that stuff.
Yeah,
But
true.
since I was a child of the 70s, I tend to think of TV. But I was raised by a pack of wild TVs. I always say that because
You were, and you know what? Back to what you were saying about chips. The roller disco episode is considered the most 70s scene in 1970s TV, which makes me laugh.
oh really?
And Todd Bridges is in there as a little kid. Melissa
Todd
Sue
Bridges.
Anderson,
So this was
Todd
like an
Bridges.
all-star cast episode, like a very special Chips episode.
It looks like a very special Chips episode. Melissa Sue Anderson, Cindy Williams, a bunch of
Cindy
people.
Williams. Now that she was a
Cindy
big star in
Williams,
1979.
Dana
Surely.
Plato, I'm looking at right now. Oh, you guys, Victor French from Little House in his normal clothes. Oh, you guys got to get and watch this.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
I'm pulling that
and
up on YouTube as
Susan
soon as we're
from
done.
Eight is Enough. I just saw in the background. I'm so
And
excited.
what were we just saying about
I'm
how
telling you,
disco worthy
somebody.
she was?
So they're on roller skates trying to go down like a Soul Train line on roller skates. So I would say 70s reminds me of roller skating a lot. So disco, roller disco. I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, it's such a happy thing. I think that's kind of an interesting difference probably between kids in the 70s and adults in the 70s. Like if you talk to adults,
Good
they're going to talk
point.
about gas lines and, Watergate and all this stuff. And for a kid like me, I'm going to remember, Chips and Love Boat and the Bee Gees and Sean Cassidy and stuff like that. It's totally different to me. But also the soundtrack, like disco is happy, right? It's this happy, um, positive music, and it's groovy. It makes you want to get up and dance. And it's not like folk music or navel gazing music or something that makes you think seriously about serious things,
Yeah,
right? Like
absolutely.
the
It's
songs
for
are
fun.
like, I mean, the songs are like, you should be dancing, you know,
Ah,
no
yeah.
parking baby on the dance floor. Like, that's it, man. That's all you got to
Right.
worry about.
You're right.
That's it.
100%.
Yeah. So we're going to take a short break. We're a little late with the break right now, but we'll be right back after this. We're the Glitter Boom Girls. This podcast brought to you by Taking Liberty, a novel by Robbie-Ann McPherson. 30-something Maggie can't find the courage to leave her cruel boyfriend or her miserable life in Montana. Fate intervenes, and with the help of 3 strangers, Maggie finally escapes. But her new start leads her right back to the childhood home and the old mistakes she never thought she'd have to face again. Taking Liberty, available on Kindle and on paperback on Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. And we're back after the break. We're the Glitter Boom Girls. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about disco and culture in the 1970s and early 80s and the whole effect that the disco had on the culture. So let's talk about like 70s disco versus 80s disco.
I don't even know if I can differentiate. You're gonna have to tell me what you think about that.
Well, no, I think you will. You just don't know it. Like, okay, 80s disco. Think Flashdance, right? What a feel.
Oh, that's
right?
80s disco?
Get down on it.
Okay,
Get
that.
Pointer Sisters, Let It Whip, Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan,
Okay, so
Shaka Khan.
I draw the line. Nothing past 1983 to me is disco. So I draw the line at Flashdance and Shaka Khan. I feel like those are going into like the breakdancing thing. And I draw such a strict line.
Yeah, I agree. I would have to say that I think that's our border is 1983/4. I think you're right. Because once you get into like When Doves Cry and stuff like that, it's over. Like that's just not disco. But I mean, I Feel for You, that is a disco tune.
You think so? I guess when he was doing the Shaka Khan, everybody Shaka Khan, to me that was like, okay, that's rap.
Baby,
so
baby,
that goes,
when
all the kids would
you.
breakdance to that where I'm from. So to me that goes in the breakdancing basket.
Maybe that's a transitional song.
That's just my head.
Like a transitional rug. Maybe I Feel for You was like the transitional song.
I will.
One foot in the disco world.
And it was written by Prince.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And Prince, I mean, of all people who could cover, disco and, I mean, Prince was so cool no matter what he did. He could just float anywhere he wanted to. He was funk.
Yes.
And I don't know, some funk songs seem disco-y to me and vice versa. So I think that's a whole.
Funny? He did have his own version of I Feel for You in 1979, and it was really kind of disco-y. And then hers came out in 84.
Yeah, so after
point.
Well, and then she also had what was her other I'm Every
Rufus?
Woman?
Oh, well, she had Tell Me Something Good with Rufus. Like she had some old.
Yeah, but like
those
I'm
were
Every
disco.
Woman, that's a disco tune. Like if you listen to the beat, right? I mean, that's full on disco.
You're right.
But also 80s disco is It's Raining Men. Total disco tune.
Okay.
I think that was like 83, 82, 83.
Definitely.
So, but I wonder what makes the cutoff, right? Like, who decided in 1983 or 4 to just close the door on that sound? Like, was it technology in recording where these artists and producers just started discovering different ways to record and drum machines and new sounds and stuff like that? Or do you think it was the palate of the consumers? Like, why did disco die?
Well, I think that it has something to do with maybe the lack of people going out dancing and maybe the rise of the yuppie, of the person who's trying to go to work and be on Wall Street, and maybe it kind of contradicted with that, but I'm not sure because I'm sure a lot of yuppies did a ton of coke and went out dancing.
Yeah, they went out dancing for sure, but they were dancing to like Depeche Mode and stuff. That was the new wave. So new wave replaced disco. But why? Like, it's both dance music. Like, what? I don't get it. Because you could mix up disco and new wave all night, and I'd be like, whatever, like, I don't care. But I just found it so weird. Even back then, when I was young, I found it so strange that um, disco became so passe just so suddenly. And then it was like, nope, now we're listening to this new kind of electronic sound, and that's it.
You know what? I really think it's when people's parents started going out to do it because that kills everything.
Oh, you got it.
I think
That's
when
it.
you are like have your own slang and it's cute and then it starts showing up on TV commercials, you're like, okay, that's dead. That was
Yeah.
supposed to be for me and my friends. And then a
Yep.
year later, your parents are trying to say it and they're trying to dress up. And when they go out and becomes too mainstream, there is a screeching sound of tires, a screech from the needle scratching the record. Once your parents get into it, it's dead. And
Yep.
I think you're right that Hal and Gordon at the record company, well, I think we should get into this disco thing. I think that happened and every kid rejected it.
You're right. I think we could trace it back to the moment when those infomercials for the dance lesson
Yes.
videos
Uh-huh.
started airing, and
Yeah.
like your parents started buying them, and it was like,
Hmm.
oh, let's learn. Yeah, I think that's true. And when the 18-year-olds who were populating the discos in like 77, 78, 79, when they turned, 23, 24, they were outgrowing, like everybody does, right? You sort of outgrow what you were into. It,
Whatever you were into, it could have been the
yeah,
coolest thing. It is now passe
right. Yeah. Like
because
I'm
you're three
not
years
like
older.
that. I mean, I
I
still
was.
no, I still listen to like Sean Cassidy, a record I bought when I was 8 years old.
Hmm.
I still listen to that damn record now. Like it's in
Well,
rotation and
now, but let's be honest, when you were back at the record store with your new Madonna things, were you really thinking about Sean Cassidy when you had your new Madonna record?
as God is my witness, yes. I
Okay.
had mixtapes
Okay.
with like, and my mixtapes, it was like Judas Priest, Madonna, Ray Charles, Sean Cassidy, Barry Manilow, some weird punk band. Like I was all over the place, totally all over the place. So
Okay.
I didn't quite understand the music, but with clothes and stuff, I can totally relate because like things that I wore wait, let me rephrase that. Things I tried to wear because I'm such a fashion failure. I just I
You know, you always say that, and then every picture I see of you is adorable.
I no, that's a lie. You're just straight up lying right now because that's a pitiful lie
I'm not going to argue with you, but I always think you look so good.
compared to I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't. Like I was the one where the Bastard clogs were really hip and they peaked in like 1977. I got them in 79,
Hmm.
the the lace up knee high boots with the chunk heel, they peaked in 78. I got them in 80, like that's always
I mean,
how
I
I've
feel like
been.
that's middle America. I mean, who is that chic?
Everybody
Except
else
for all
around
my
me was that chic.
every school person in my town was, but
Yeah, maybe it was the people I hung out with. I don't know. Yeah. So, well, and speaking of all that, um, within the disco fashion, because that's a whole ball of wax there, right? You had you had like the Soul Train disco, which was probably the coolest disco. I mean, everything about Soul Train is just way cool. But, there was like midriff look with the like bell bottoms and lots of earth tones, and they had like a lot of leather shoes and platforms and stuff. And then you had like the American Bandstand disco, which was like tacky as hell, and people in mismatched shit and polyester and just like wacky stuff. And if you look at Saturday Night Fever, there was not a lot, no sequins. It was not sequins. It
you're
was
right.
like,
You're right.
yeah, it was like the guys all had patterned shirts. They all had these weird prints on them. And the women all had solids. that were like pastels and stuff.
Yes.
Remember? Like Annette
Yes.
always, Annette was always in pastels. And Stephanie, they had her in white a lot. And I think once she was in yellow or something. And that
I
powder blue
think
bodysuit.
I think it kind of just went mainstream. The clothes kind of went from the cool people wearing them to like, let's make copies of those clothes from Saturday Night Fever and put them in Sears. That kind of takes away from it.
Yeah.
And I think that like when Urban Cowboy came out, it was just a whole like, hey, let's look over here, with those little 70s shirts with the puff sleeves and the kind of I don't know. I just feel like there was just a little shift, maybe led by movies, maybe the overexposure of Saturday Night Fever and those clothes going mainstream and the infomercials.
Yeah, and then the early 80s, let's not forget MTV, right? I mean,
Of
MTV
course.
came out August 1st, 1981, and everyone was exposed to crazy stuff. And all of a sudden, everybody's taking fashion cues not from New York
Good point.
Fashion Week, right? But
Good
they're,
point.
yeah, all of a sudden it was like Pat Benatar's wearing
Take
these,
your pick.
yeah, like crazy skin tight leather pants and a weird striped shirt.
Some
And
rags tied to her arms and
yeah,
she's shimmying.
right. And every video was different,
Well, you know
right?
what I see that as? I see that as, hey guys, music is now visual. Let's be the craziest we can be. Let's win this game. And they're all kind of elbowing each other for the consumer.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like Duran Duran, we're going to just dunk you in a thing of red and black spikes and rags and
right. Headbands.
tire stripes. David Lee Roth, you're over here. Cyndi Lauper, you're over here. And everybody was like, okay, this is in color. This is going to be visual. What's the absolute nuttiest, craziest eye-catching thing we can do,
Yeah.
and then we all watch it. We're like, oh wow, we can pick any one of these. Like, wait a second, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, like, oh, I would look terrible in that, but this over here, I was all about the Madonna borderline,
Mm-hmm.
that
Oh,
street urchin look.
it was great. It
Yeah,
was
I mean,
just great.
yeah, it was so I watched that video, and it was so, all those early videos were so impactful. Remember Kim Wilde,
Of course.
right? The Kids in America, she had that blazer with the blue stripes, and that she had that messy blonde hair. I mean, I think for the last 35, 40 years I've been trying to replicate that look. I
What? I
love
did
that
not
look.
know that about
I mean,
you.
but she had the smudgy eyeliner and stuff. Just so cool. Just cool, period, right? Something
I
I'll probably never
just,
be.
you gotta stop saying that because
No,
I
no,
don't
I mean,
know. I
I'm
do see
okay
you
with
in
it.
Kim
Like
Wilde.
I'm not saying it like it's I'm fine with being cool. I'm
Okay,
proud that I'm
fine.
not cool. I'm laughing at it because I look back and I was tortured over it when I was a little kid. And I that might be why I was so in love with disco when I was little, because I saw I saw all that disco stuff as something cool, and I aspired to be that when I grew up. I thought disco would still be around when I was an adult, and I couldn't wait to like go to the clubs and learn all the steps and be Stephanie or whatever, and Annette, not Annette, but like
Yeah.
and I just thought that that was cool. And then you see other things on TV, like all those videos, and like the Kim Wilde thing I mentioned, and um, you or Madonna, like something about Madonna when she just exploded on the scene. She was so cool. There was just something about her that was so totally self-possessed, I guess is the
She
word.
just did not care. And
Right?
anybody who I ever looked up to, there was some element of like, I really don't care what you think. And that was definitely,
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah, because,
how she was.
when you're young like that, you care what everybody thinks so much. And you're so, and then but again, it goes back to like the theme of the songs. I mean, you put on Thelma Houston, Don't Leave Me This Way, right? Or you put on Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive. You put on It's Raining Men, you know? It's all
Ooh.
attitude, tall, blonde, dark. Like,
You know what? When you put on those songs and you're getting ready to go out, they
yes.
give you like this
Uh-huh.
power.
It's the best music to get ready to go out to. Even if you're going out to like the ballet. Like you put on
Oh,
disco
yeah,
to get ready, right? Put your makeup on and all that.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I like disco to wash the dishes and clean the house and
Same.
right? And or
Oh, yeah.
if I am feeling like fogged out, you get that brain fog. Like to me, disco's a good antidote to brain fog. It just kind of because all of a sudden you're toe tapping and it's like you're in your own video. All of a sudden you're like, what a feeling.
Oh, yeah. It's it's just so much fun. And you know what else I love about it? Just side note, I don't have to sit there and try to be deep and try to look at the deeper meaning.
Oh yeah.
I don't have to go, wow. You know, I don't have to think about anything.
Well,
It's just the beat.
that is a fantastic point. No, it really is because like you and I both have been through some shit, in our lives. Like we have overcome some shit, not unlike many people who are listening right now.
Certainly, yes.
And when you've been through some shit, you don't need to contemplate your navel. You don't
I'm
need to get in
over it.
touch with your depth and all that. You've already stood at the abyss and you've already figured all that stuff out. So you don't necessarily need it in your art, like in music and movies and all that kind of stuff. You want to escape. You want to get in touch with joy. You want to get in touch with feeling good or positive, or you want something that lifts you up. And
Yes.
when I was a kid, um, I had a pretty good childhood up to a point, but there was a point where some shit went down, and
Hmm.
when you get there, you want to escape. And then now as an adult, disco either lifts me up because I remember it lifted me out of something when I was a kid, or I remember it was the soundtrack to a happy time, right?
That's right. And again, like we said on a different episode, it's kind of a memory stamp. You hear that music and your brain maybe brings back that dopamine or the serotonin or whatever, and you get that same little hit, that same little feeling you had when you felt good.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, we love
Well,
disco.
we really
Yeah.
did.
Aim, we're out of time.
What?
I know. I know. Man, we can talk.
We can.
Yeah, that's crazy. So everyone should know Amy Asbury is a ridiculously fantastic author of many, many, many books. And you should check out her stuff. You can find us on Twitter, Glitter Boom Girl Show. And my name is Robbie-Ann McPherson, also an author. Our books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Kindle. What were you going to say, Aim?
I was going to say, you have a fantastic, fantastic book that should be a movie. I guarantee you it will be on Lifetime.
It's
Continue
called
on.
Taking Liberty. So
Yes.
read it. Let me know. Taking Liberty by Robbie-Ann McPherson. You can Google it, search it. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, there's links all over the place. So, and you know what? Hit us up on Twitter. We love DMs and we talk back. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next time on the
Bye.
Glitter Boom Girl Show.